Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Porch Talk. This episode is presented to you by Wyatt Pole Holders. Wyatt Pole Holders. It's a great setup by one of my buddies. He does plaques and he does wedding rings and he's even done a cutting board for me. But his main focus for his business is doing fishing pole racks. So if you have any that you need to display safely or they're just lying on the floor, you need to get put up somewhere. He does a great job at that. If you want to go over to our Instagram, you can actually see a few examples of the pole holders that he has. He has engravings on them, and he also has them in different wood styles like pine, oak, and poplar. As far as customer service goes, if you want to work with him, I'll give you his information so you can shoot him a message, or if you can get a hold of him on Etsy. But he's great to work with, especially when it comes to engravings or even with pricing. But as far as just getting the product out, as soon as you put in the order, it's going to be there quick. So again, Wyatt Pole Holders is one of our sponsors.
Our other sponsor is Cantrell Holdings, LLC. They do equipment rentals. They have backhoes, loaders, anything you need to move some dirt, any kind of projects, like move some trees, stumps, anything. Just have jackhammers, anything around the house before the winter gets here. If you needing something done, you can rent for the day. They have operator services you can check out. Like I said, last episode, we rented one, me and my dad. Got a lot done, very handy. They deliver and pick up. Give their Facebook page a like. Every now and again, they'll do a drawing for their Facebook page followers, win little gift cards or something. But if you need anything like that, give them a call at 276-596-3078. That's Cantrell Holdings, LLC, for all your equipment rental needs.
How you been, man?
Pretty tired, but not too bad. How about you?
I've been good. It's been a long week. I was sick Monday and Tuesday. Felt a little bit better come Tuesday, but I think I had I don't know if it was a 24-hour bug or I don't know. I kind of feel like it was food poisoning, but I can't remember. I made whatever I ate, so I guess I poisoned myself. So that's a little bit more into it.
A little self-sabotage there, wasn't
it? Yeah. For those of you that's listening, we had a great week this week as far as for the podcast. We had a guest on Tuesday night, Coach Shane Wiggs, offensive coordinator at Honeacre High, told a great story with, how he got into the game of football as well as his high school days with those legendary Richlands teams. I didn't realize we were talking about it even after, but we were talking about it with him. I didn't realize they went to three straight state championship games.
I didn't either. And then semis the other year?
Yeah, I think it's freshman year. Semis.
So I think it was.
Yeah.
I felt pretty dumb. I thought he was a couple of years younger than he was. I knew he was on that state championship team that won it, but I thought maybe he was a freshman or sophomore that year, and I didn't realize he was a junior when they won.
Yeah.
Which, we could have done homework, but I like finding out, and learning, from the person herself.
Yeah, definitely.
But to an extent, I felt kind of dumb not knowing that, but it is what it is. It was a very good interview and conversation with him. Very knowledgeable. You can tell about everything that, is football. I love that he, like he said, shot his shot and wanted to do offense.
Yeah.
So that's what he went in with, because it would have been very easy for him to present his resume to, as a coach for defensive coach, since that's what he played in college. But, that was kind of cool. I didn't know how that went down. Because when I found out he was the offensive coordinator or whatever they call it in high school, I was surprised by that, because I've always known Shane is a great linebacker and stuff like that. So that was cool to find out.
Yeah. And I mean, so far we've got pretty decent support. For those of you that listened to it right out of the gate, I think it was Wednesday morning. We had some audio issues, so I tried to repost it, which on Spotify you wouldn't have told it, but you couldn't really see a difference as far as I didn't take the episode down. It just let me replace it. But on YouTube, I actually had to take the video down and put a new one up. But with that being said, we've still got a pretty decent amount of views. It's not quite got past Tommy's interview yet. The interview we had with Coach Krieger, but at the same time, it's tracking pretty good. And like we were just saying, the story's great, and especially with right now the way Hoonacre's playing, it's cool for people, for me anyway, and I'm sure for you, to see a little bit of what's going on behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to ask him too much about the X's and O's. I know that everybody wants to know what's so great about the air raid, and I'm sure he could have gave us a long list of stuff, but I also didn't want to put him in that position to give any information out that might help an opponent, because I'm sure they're all trying to figure out what the heck are we going to do with this offense.
Like he's kind of said, and I've heard you say numerous times talking about this, if it's not so much about what the defense is doing, it's about doing what you do well.
That's true.
So really, you could probably tell them what you're almost what you're going to do, and if you execute what you're doing, there's really he probably couldn't have give much away. But I think anybody that is trying to game plan against them, most time you want to take one thing away. I don't. But their thing would, if I had to pick, I would say make them a running team. Just because if you do that, you're on. I mean, it's not easily done. They're a good run team, but that's what seems to be the most obvious thing you'd want to do. But with that team, I don't know how. I don't know how you line up against them. You can't play zone. You probably can't play man.
No.
Not most teams around here don't match up, have enough athletes to match up man to man. I would almost just put. I don't know. I would blitz a lot, force him music to scramble, make him hopefully he gets a little uncomfortable. But there's really not a lot you can do. You almost have to just score with them.
Well, it's like you kind of mentioned it, playing man and stuff. From a little bit of research I've done on it in the past, at least listening to some of those other coaches that I mentioned the other night in the pod, they were more out towards like North Carolina way, but they've been doing it for a minute, and it seems like more schools out there do it. So from what I see and from what I've listened to, it seems like you do need to have guys that can cover man to man, because like in the mesh and stuff like that, I mean it's designed for. I'm not gonna say it's designed for this, but if you're gonna play zone, the guys like they know how to sit in the zones. That's part of their principles or cues. Like that receiver knows when they cross each other to look for grass if it's a zone. So you almost, in my opinion, and like you said, it's hard to find this around here, but you almost would need to play man with them.
Yeah, because really, to get enough pressure on them that you would need to get, you can't have that many people sitting back in the zone. No. Unless you wanted to get real creative and only rush 3 maybe, and just drop everybody back and just hope maybe they not used to seeing that and maybe mix it up. I don't know what to tell people, but
and I don't know
what you would even. I don't know where you even start.
I don't know how they run it, but I know Coach Salas, one of the guys we mentioned the other night, he has certain like rules in his offense that if they take so many out of the box, they're going to run it every time. Because then at that point they outnumber you. So I mean, I don't know how he runs it, but yeah, it makes me wonder who's going to stop it out here. And I guess,
go ahead.
Say my thing is, with what you acknowledge, the fact that not many teams, especially on a single A level, that have that many guys that can play man like that. My answer for it, and I don't know that it would work, would be just trying to keep their offense off the field. But that's then you trying to move against their defense. So you're going to have to try to, chew up the clock, little by little, try to take like a 15 play drive down the field burn 10 minutes, and that's not easily done. But I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. And then just hope that they have a bad day on offense, or you get a stop here and there. Like you said, I don't know if there's teams that can play man with them. So I would just try to keep their offense off the field.
Yeah, the whole keeping their offense off the field thing. I mean, yeah, obviously that's what you try to do with. But if you're going to, it don't matter how long you have the ball. If you're going to score, you're going to have to stop them when they do get it. So I mean, I would almost look at it kind of like, when you in basketball, and especially like in small schools and high school, you have like if you have a one player that is just so much better than everybody else on the team, or a couple players, you throw like a jump defense at them, like a box of one or a triangle and two. I would almost throw a bunch of different things at them, just mixing it up, and maybe hoping they ain't seen it before, or they don't give them a read on what you're going to do, like rush 3-1 play, bring everybody next play, just maybe throw them off guard a little bit and hope you get lucky.
Or, kind of to your point, you remember how Pittsburgh used to do a lot? They would have these defenses where they would come up in that 4 or 5 man front, but they would a lot of them be standing, so you couldn't tell where they were coming
people
from.
Standing up. At 1 year they did it. Up in the line, and they would drop or rush.
I don't know. I don't know how high school teams, if they can adapt that quick to where they could switch something up like that drastically. I don't know. Because then the alternative, well, not the alternative, the downside to that is if you don't get to him, and then you have guys getting tangled up in coverage trying to stop these guys. I mean, that could be a touchdown waiting to happen.
Yeah.
You just have to have guys that, if they're going to do that, they have to know where their assignment is, even if they are not down in 3-point stance or not positioned like they normally are.
Well, I think what Rycove did so well against them is that bend don't break defense. Like, they maybe that, just don't don't give up any big plays. Let them complete the passes in front of you. Don't let them, obviously, but you know what I mean. Like, if you're going to give up something, give that up, and just make sure you come up and make a tackle. Then when they get down in the red zone or something, maybe shorten the field. Maybe you can get a stop there and turn over on downs or something. That might be the best option for some of these schools. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Rycove had the offense to keep scoring with them for a while, but if maybe kind of like you're saying, bend but don't break, and when you get down the red zone, just hope the shortened field could be an advantage to you. Maybe you get a stop, maybe you hold them to a field goal, maybe you get a turnover. But on offense, try to work the clock more, because I feel like that eventually they're going to score.
Yeah,
you just want to minimize the opportunities.
But that's like that first game, which obviously we're finding out now that Lebanon is not as high level as what people might have thought coming into the year, but that's like Lebanon, though. In that first game, if they wanted to kill a lot of clock and keep them on field, they would have had to go away from what they do. They want to go spread and go gun, and pass the ball too. So it would almost take like just a pure running team like that. That is already it's what they do, like a Patrick Henry or somebody like that. That just that way you don't take your offense completely out of its element. But we'll see moving forward. The Narrows game might be I don't know what they do on offense, but that's probably going to be their toughest game of the year. Maybe other than Patrick Henry, but on their schedule moving forward, that's a good one to look out for, because Narrows has got a decent record, and so that's a road trip. Yeah, that most of them kids, I bet none of them have been there before. So that could be something to look at. You want to jump into some of this other high school stuff?
Yeah, I think we covered Honecker pretty well.
Yeah, we've been people are going to say this is a Honecker podcast, but it's I mean, it's hard not to talk about them. They're fun to watch, and
and I think too, we led off with it's really a thank you to Coach Wicks. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they deserve some of that coverage. When you have a team like that around here, you're going to expect to have more coverage. It
And
is what it
if
is.
this would have been last year, if we'd have started this last year, we'd be talking a lot about Grundy and their rushing attack, how good it was.
Yeah.
So it's not
Yeah,
like we're
definitely.
just jumping on the Honecker bandwagon or
Yeah.
nothing, but we just recognize fun football when we see it. So,
That's it.
but our player of the week from last week is Cam Goodspeed from Patrick Henry. He had 6 rushing touchdowns and 1 touchdown return on an interception. He carried the ball 47 times for 337 yards in their win last week. He's pretty good. He runs behind a good line, but it's not just a good line. He's a very good running back also, and apparently a pretty good defensive player. I think he ran a touchdown back against Grundy the week before.
Yeah.
So he's our player of the week. That's not a real local kid, but we can talk about Patrick Henry enough so he made the list. So
I have, as far as those of you that follow us on the X account, we're trying to expand that a little bit and try to reach out to more than the groups we have right now. Um, going with the whole player of the week, we'll also throw out a clip announcing that. But I went ahead and shared his highlights from last week too, so that way anybody wants to take a look at that. I want to start doing that more because these kids, they got the. I didn't have the whole huddle account thing whenever I was in high school. I think it was around, but I think after I went through, they started like helping the kids sign up on it and sharing it and stuff like that. So if we can, be an avenue to kick that out to the public even more, I want to do it. So again, like he said, the player of the week is Goodspeed, and his highlights are on our X account if you want to go check that out.
And me and you talked about this off air. I don't know when it was, maybe last night or not before last, but I know we had talked about earlier in the when we first started it, having players on, and I think me and you kind of got the same idea about time constraints and not wanting to. I don't know. We almost don't even want to invite anybody or ask anybody because we don't want to be like a distraction almost. But if there are any coaches out there that actually listen to this and you want to give us a green light to ask, I guess, some of your players, or if they'd be interested or something, then give us a shout out or a holler on messages or something. But I almost feel not afraid, obviously, but I just don't want to. I hate to even, what I mean? I'd want to ask, you got coaches, parents, you need to, communicate with before you ask one of them to come on. And I hate to be a distraction to one of them, but you also, at the same time, you'd like to give them a platform,
Yeah,
kind of like we was talking about an interview with a paper, today's world, podcast or a bigger thing than, your newspaper probably, but and we might not be a big enough one for them to really get a lot of light shined on them, but it could be a
yeah,
cool experience for one of them, to get on interviews. So
yeah,
that'd be something to look into down the road. But
yeah. I mean, I think maybe as we grow more, and I'm already extremely surprised, I think, by the support we've got so far. Maybe as we grow more, that might be more of an
yeah,
option. But for sure, we're going to do everything we can to put these kids' names out there right now. Anyway, uh, we've obviously shared a lot with Honecker, but like we mentioned the other day, stat wise, it's hard not to. But we've mentioned a few from back over towards Buchanan County with Twin Valley players, Grundy players. We reached out we shared one with Tazewell's quarterback a week or so
Creasy,
ago.
yeah,
Yeah, and then
yeah.
we've touched on a lot. So yeah, we're trying to
Yeah.
get it out there as much as possible.
Well, I'll go over a few games this week, real quick. Just read them off. Stop me if there's one you want to that jumps out at you. Marion is at Graham. Gate City is at Tennessee High. Eastside is at J.I. Burton. Patrick Henry is at Royal Retreat. Union at Twin Springs. I'll stop at that one for a second. Twin
I
Springs
was going to say
got
that
a
was
pretty good record
yeah.
for the 1A. I don't know if they've played
They were
any, good teams yet.
yeah.
They've had a bye already, so that was one of their weeks.
They were ranked, weren't they, in like the local top 5? I think
Well, in the actual
we talked
playoff
about this. Yeah,
in the playoff rankings right now, they're actually up there pretty high too. So,
yeah.
but
The
Union
Union's a
is a different animal, and
yeah,
it's a 2A. I don't know.
yeah,
I was very surprised to know they scheduled them, or maybe it's always been on their schedule, and I just didn't realize it. But
yeah. I'm not sure.
and it kind of, I don't know. That just kind of surprised me a little bit. But I don't think that'll be a competitive game, but it might be one just to peek in on, just to see how it's going Friday night.
Yeah, I mean it's good for Twin Springs if they have aspirations of going somewhere in the playoffs. I mean,
Well,
going against talent like that, it could help
points.
you.
Yeah, a lot of
So
points too, just from losing to a
yeah,
good team like that. You still get a lot of points because Union's going to win a lot of games. Another 2A 1A matchup is Lehigh is at Rye Cove. The Bristol paper had this one. Their prediction was a lot closer than what I had thought it would be.
yeah,
I guess just because Lehigh is 2A, and it's not like they're a terrible team, but they have struggled against some of their other 2A opponents this year in the Mountain 7, which Mountain
yeah,
7's a great district. So, but I think Rykov, I would have thought Rykov would have been more of a favorite,
yeah.
but
More favorite.
maybe I don't know a lot about Lehigh, obviously, but Rykov, this is a crazy stat. And again, I'm not sure who all the teams they played were. I think there was a couple of Tennessee schools, but other than the Honaker game, they've outscored their opponents this year 204-0.
Ooh,
Other than the
man,
Honaker game, and the
man.
Honaker obviously was 40-32 or whatever it was. So
Well, that speaks to their defense too. I'm very excited. I think Coach Wicks mentioned it the other night that if both of them goes forward and gets their job done in their respective schedules and playoff schedules, that they're probably going to meet again. And I'm very excited to see that. I think it's definitely one we need to go check out.
I told you before, I love watching their quarterback play. It's not your typical like the stature, height wise, and even the way they approach it. I guess him and Music are complete opposites. But I remember, I think I told you he kind of reminded me of Tyrod, which Tyrod wasn't. I thought he was very. I'm a Tech fan, so I love Tyrod Taylor, but I don't know. I could probably think of some other comparisons, but that's who he's
that's
a
a
lot
decent
of.
comparison.
I think he's a lot of fun to watch. He's very quick, back and forth. Has a really good change of direction. He just seems under control the whole time he's doing all this. He's not when he's scrambling. He still looks like he is. He could either take off and run, or he's looks perfectly content with throwing downfield, and he's very under control. I really enjoyed watching him play in that Honecker game. So I'm like you. I really hope that might be a possible matchup down the road in the rematch on a neutral field.
So I was actually trying to figure out his name because we brought him up several
we really
times on
should.
here. Well, from what I see, his name is Landon Lane.
Landon Lane.
His name, from what I can see, that was from an article just on the 21st of this month. So Landon Lane. So that way you have a name with all the praise we're giving him.
If they were closer, I'd go watch them play this week, just because of the prediction. But when's the last time you played at Rye Cove, right? When you were in high school?
Yeah, Rye Cove, and those games that's a rough memory for me. Well, I think it was my junior year. We played against them on homecoming, and it was my junior year. Yeah, it was. We're actually up on them like 2 or 3 touchdowns, and I didn't know anything about Rye Cove then at that point. But I remember thinking like me and Logan was on the same team, and we looked at each other and we're like, well, this is going pretty good. And then all of a sudden, man, it was like I remember that moment with Logan on defense, thinking that okay, we got this. And then within a second, Shannon unfortunately had thrown a ball to the end zone. The kid from Rock Cove intercepted it, returned it 100 yards, and scored. And momentum shifted. And so we were up pretty good. Like I said, 2 or 3 touchdowns, and they came all the way back and won. And then
I remember
senior
that
year,
game. I don't.
yeah,
I might have
yeah,
been in the booth
yeah.
doing the PA that game.
Well,
Maybe I might have been keeping stats that game. I can't remember.
I don't remember the kids that played on that team for Rock Cove, but I knew they had really hard nosed running back, and the quarterback was pretty good too. But then the next year, almost the exact same thing happened, which I wasn't playing that game. That's whenever I tore my ACL. But the guys were up. We were up, 2 or 3 touchdowns towards the end. And unfortunately, Austin Shortridge, he was one of the ball carriers at that time, and he was having a heck of a game. And whatever happened on that play, he had ended up fumbling it. Momentum shifted, and they ended up coming back and winning. They had a heck of a receiver. I can't remember his name, but it was a tough game. That one was almost harder for me to experience because I don't know. Sometimes you're in the game and you have a lot of things going through your head. Should have done this. Should have done that. You're processing a lot, but to be on the sidelines and then witness the team go through that as a friend, it was hard to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So the Rock Cove games in my high school career were pretty tough.
Yeah.
It was 2 games that we choked both of them away. But now those teams, I thought they were good, but I'm not sure that I don't want to downgrade them. But I don't think they were the team that Rock Cove has right now.
No, not even
It
close.
seems like they have a legit, I don't, especially with Riverhead's out, I don't know, I don't know what Grayson County has or some of these other schools have, but it seems like they have a team that go to the playoffs and makes some noise.
Yeah, for sure. But the trip over there, that's what I was getting more at. Do you remember how long it took to get there?
I don't, but I do remember this, like the school itself and the area around it. That I remember it being beautiful. It felt like I was going hunting or something.
It's out in the middle of nowhere. On a winding. Yeah, it's not as bad a trip as Thomas Walker is, but it's a pretty good ways out there. But we'll move on to Northwood at Castlewood. I don't know what Castlewood's schedule's like. This may be one of their big, I don't want to say only chances without knowing more about who's on their schedule, but this is their best chance so far in their year for a win. So that would be one to keep an eye on. Lebanon at John Battle.
That might be a pretty good game.
Well, that's what I was thinking too. If Lebanon was what we thought they were going to be, which they still could be a tough team, but
yeah, I mean Richland, they beat Richlands last week, which I know Richlands is down a little bit. But who was it that John Battle beat week 1? That was actually
Abingdon.
Was it Abingdon? That's a pretty good win.
It was week 1 or 2, but yeah, they upset Abingdon.
No, I think it was week 1. Yeah, I mean, so they got beat pretty bad, I guess, with the Patrick Henry game. But it's weird when you see stuff like that because you think, man, to beat. I mean, that's actually their only win is against Abingdon. They played close as Virginia High.
Yeah.
13-6. They lost by 1 to Holston in overtime. And then, they lost by 30 to Patrick Henry. But the rest of the games were pretty competitive. I mean, I think that's
it could be a really good game.
To me, that's a pretty intriguing game.
Yeah. Ridgeview at Richlands. I almost decided to go to this one just to watch Ridgeview play, but it's not going to be a close game, I wouldn't think. So I'm going to try to hold off and watch them another week.
I wonder. The only thing that scares me about Ridgeview, and I might be wrong, somebody can correct me if I am, but I don't think they've been tested at all. And it's not their fault.
No, it's not been close at all. Yeah,
teams have just been down, but I don't know what they had before Union, but I worry about the fact they haven't been tested at all. Then to go play Union, who has had a little bit of a test. I mean, they played Graham, and I think they had another one that was
Science Hill was a very good
Science
game.
Hill,
Yeah.
and even Gate City to an extent. I mean, that's Gate City. I think is better than any team that Ridgeview's played this year so far. So that is concerning to me.
Yeah, cause everybody's had them up there in that, the rankings, and I have too, but I
Well,
really
you
don't
can't
know.
not have them.
I don't know
Yeah,
anything about them other than I know they've
yeah,
not played a very hard schedule yet. But
yeah,
like you said, they do have good teams on their schedule. They just not got to them yet. So we'll find out. And again, you can't compare scores either because you don't in high school from week to week. It's crazy. So
yeah.
but Grundy at Tazewell. I don't think it's going to be close either. After seeing what Honaker did to Grundy's defense, Tazewell's going to throw the ball, so they're going to put a lot of points up.
Yeah.
Grundy could keep it if they can pass it. Get some plays, get some run. Move the chains a little bit here and there. Just keep Tazewell's offense on the sidelines. They may keep it closer than people would expect, or slow the game down maybe. But I think Tazewell takes care of them. Chilhowie at Honaker, which we talked about a little bit with Coach Wicks, but Chilhowie's very improved from last season. Good record, I think 4-1. Is that what they are?
Yeah, 4-1. They've
Only lost to Narrows.
Yeah,
Right.
Narrows. Yeah.
So, I mean, on paper, it looks like a really good matchup, and it very well could be a good game. But I don't see Honaker having too many problems with them. But that's why you play. So we'll see how that goes. But our game of the week, and people might laugh when they hear this. I don't know. I don't care. Is Blaine County at Twin Valley, and we're not saying this is a game of the week. If you want to go watch the, high skill leveled players, obviously, but as far as the games go, this should be a pretty good game, I would think, unless Twin Valley runs away with it. I mean, I know that's crazy to say, but judging off of scores from previous weeks, it looks like Twin Valley's should be favored in this one. So, well, that's probably where I'll be again. I think I said last week that might be my last time going to watch them this year, but I mean they're at home again, so I think it's homecoming for them. So I'll probably ride over.
Well, and right now too, I don't mean. Yeah, I hate that we're going to have to kind of bring up every time that Twin Valley does get a win, that you almost have to bring up the fact that what they're coming from last year.
Well,
and so I think that, I mean, it is a big game because, they get that win. Here we are. I mean, you don't know the way Single A is right now, that they get that win, they might roll off and win 2 or 3 more. And here we are in the playoffs because, I mean, it's just it's how
crazy.
I
know what you're saying. Yeah, it's crazy to think, but I'm glad you mentioned that about what happened last year, because that's what I was going to talk about with Bland. They're in the same boat. They're starting out 0-3, and in 2019 they had to actually cancel their season. I think they only got 2 or 3 games in last year before they had to cancel their season. So they're exact same boat that Twin Valley's in. I think they have 17 players right now. So this is 2 very similar programs as far as the struggles that they're having with numbers and maintaining it year in, year out. So honestly, it's just good to see both of them. I'm happy for both teams that they're able to be into week 4 or 5 or whatever it is and still be playing. So that's a win in itself. But obviously, I'm hoping Twin Valley can come out ahead on this one. And but I'll probably go. Are you going to try to go to any Friday?
Oh, well, tomorrow.
Or tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I mean, I won't.
Oh yeah,
be
never mind.
concert.
We're not going to a game.
Yeah.
Never mind. I forgot.
We'll talk about that at the end of the pod. But,
sorry, I won't be in a game this week.
Yeah, we'll talk about that at the end of the pod. We'll be elsewhere. I do want to mention because I wanted to double or fact check myself on Ridgeview's schedule. They did have one game that I felt like was a pretty good opponent, and that was against Virginia High, and it
Yeah,
was 16-0. So
yeah,
Virginia High
especially
played well with them.
after Virginia High played with Graham last week.
Yeah,
And
I can
granted,
imagine
I still don't think the guy's healthy for Graham, but that was still a very close game, which is surprised me.
yeah, I don't like Virginia High. I don't know how to read the points or anything, but I imagine their points has to be pretty decent. I mean, they're 1-4. The record does not look good, but um, they 16-0 against Ridgeview is not terrible. I mean, they didn't get on the board, but still, 14-21 against Graham. That's not terrible. I would not.
No, it
I
sounds
mean,
like their defense is tough.
yeah, but and the back end of the schedule looks a lot more promising for them. They did get beat pretty bad by Radford, but Radford's good, very good.
Radford's
They
Radford.
got a great quarterback. Um, and then they did lose Patrick Henry 25-15, but that's really not like a blowout. That was week one. But then on the back end, they got Tazewell, which I think is a winnable game for them. They got Richlands. I think they'd be favored in that. They got Jenkins, Kentucky.
We talked about that earlier. I
Yeah,
don't understand. That's kind of odd, but yeah, that's
yeah.
probably
Then
favored in that one, I would think.
yeah, and then they got Lebanon and Marion. So I think you have a great chance of going on a
Yeah, they could.
5-game winning streak.
Yeah, they're
To
tough. Their
end
tougher
it.
part of their
Yeah,
schedule is their first part.
yeah. So I mean, that's just some different storylines as
Yeah.
far as for the area.
I'm gonna rank my 1A and 2A teams again, and it's
Yeah,
pretty much starting to become a pattern of just the same teams up top, and then not knowing enough about the 4 and 5 spots to really make a great pick. But 1A, I have Honegger, Rye Cove, Patrick Henry, and I put Twin Springs at 4, based on some power rankings and things and like playoff points. Don't know anything about them. They've kind of like we was talking about Ridgeview. I don't think they've been tested yet by, you know, I don't know, which I'm not sure who they've played other than maybe on a 110C school and somebody else that I remember that wouldn't have a great record, I don't think. But I got them at 4, and I was torn on the 5th spot, but I put Holston in there at 5.
yeah,
Eastside was one I was going to pick, but I don't know. It's just I think Holston probably maybe not the best record, but out of all them other schools, but probably if you put them on head to head, I think they were probably the 5th best team. In 2A, I got Union only because they beat Graham when Graham wasn't 100%, but they beat them. So
yeah,
until Graham is healthy and um, there's a reason for me to put them back ahead of them. Union is number 1. Then I have Graham, have Ridgeview, and honestly, after that, I don't know enough about some of these. I've not seen enough similar matchups, I guess. But I'm gonna go with Tazewell for now. Again, I just like the way their offense plays, and they can put a lot of points up. So I'm gonna go with them. And then I got Gate City right now at 5. I still think they're a tough team that is in a tough district, but I think they're worthy of being 5. So
yeah. I mean, I think I agree with your ranks. I think that I would almost have Gate City slightly above Tazewell,
well,
just the
I
way
did.
they beat Richlands, and then the way how close Tazewell and Richlands played together. I probably have Gate City just above them, but I'm not. I don't know as far as Double A. I've not watched enough or researched enough to really make a accurate or not prediction, but ranking, I guess.
I had them there, and I don't know why I changed it because it was the same reason you said. I thought about that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not real sure why I changed it, but for some reason I just thought. I guess I just keep thinking Tazewell's offense putting up some numbers, so I just put them forth. But yeah, I'll do a deep dive into some similar opponents here and figure out some things, I guess. But that's all for high school for now, I guess. Unless you got anything.
No, and again, for those of you that listen to this high school portion, check out our interview with Coach or offensive coordinator Shane Wicks from the other day, Honaker's offensive coordinator. I just want to throw that out there again, and then also, if you like that one, also check out the interview we had with Coach Tommy Krieger from Twin Valley. So I think that what we're doing here, what we're trying to do here, is give these coaches a platform to, one, tell us a story about themselves, because most of the time these coaches are people, as far as at least locally, that, for the lack of a better word, I'm going to say local legends. I mean, these guys have been stars in their respective sport, and now here they are, they're coaching. So it's awesome to hear about their days playing. Some of the stories, we hit on with Coach Wicks, the famous YouTube hit that's at least as I was growing up, and I mean, you're older than me, but around this community, that got brought up a lot back before YouTube was even easily accessible. So what we're trying to do is get these coaches out here, or we mentioned before, it could be anybody, musicians or whatever, but especially for the coaches, getting them out here, talk about their playing days up and through college, and then their process of getting hired in the positions they're at. So again, if you want to check any of those out, just go to our YouTube account, and then we also put out clips with maybe like a minute or two clips, just them talking about certain things.
Coach Wicks was being very humble when he was talking about the players that he played with and stuff. Some of the good ones. He was pretty darn good himself.
Yeah,
He was
very.
one of the best, if not the best, linebackers around here when he was playing. Probably the best, I would think. I
Yeah,
can't remember who else was playing around here then at that time, but he was hard hitting, old
yeah,
school, hard type of player. That got maybe overlooked a little bit because of the offensive teammates he had around him, but extremely, extremely good football player, and was
yeah,
good and was very good in college. I mean, like you said, played a lot. So
yeah. I mean,
maybe if not for that knee injury, may have walked on at Tech or tried to go somewhere bigger. So,
yeah,
but he was very humble about it. He didn't.
yeah.
You could tell,
Or
but
like you said, super tough. One thing I can't remember. Sometimes the audio went out a little bit on it, as far as when we were doing the post editing and stuff like that. But his story with Coach Blevins from Emory and Henry, how he talked to him, is like, hey, as far as like snapping the ball, long snapping, that hey, you could be, your
mm-hmm.
times are what professionals like. They compare to the professionals. So maybe he had an opportunity there. I don't know. Uh, we didn't go too much into detail past that, but it speaks to his skill, but
Yeah.
just to his toughness, like you were saying, for him to play at that high level at high school and college. And then we didn't even get a chance to talk about the fact that he was also in the octagon fighting for a little
Yeah,
bit, and we
we
missed
really
the boat
dropped the
on that
ball
one.
there. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
he even brought up I don't know if he brought up on the
yeah,
podcast, but it maybe before we
no,
started
at the end he
recording, but
did. Yeah,
started talking about like how y'all do UFC stuff, and I mean,
yeah,
literally opened door for us to just ask, and we
yeah.
blew it.
But I think though, the fact we were talking about how you would think that he'd be a defensive coach. I think the offense thing though, because you look at the history of when he played in high school, college, and then after the fact that him fighting in the octagon a little bit, the dude likes to be on the attack. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's aggressive. So in a way, it's like, okay, offense might have been his true calling, because especially in the air raid, uh, he's attacking. I mean, I think this might be the most accurate uh, side of the ball for him as far as coaching goes.
Well, even Dion said in a interview earlier in the year about how or in that documentary, I think maybe I don't know where it was at, but people were surprised that he called the plays at Jackson State, I guess. and wasn't doing defense. But in his mind, he was a defensive player, and so as a defensive player, he knew more about what would work for what an offense could do to make it hard on him. So it helped him,
Yeah.
call plays. So it comes into play a lot with Shane. Knowing as a defensive player what would be the which
Yeah.
they do the air raid. So I mean they're kind of got a system, but maybe it translate over to that. He knows what's harder to defend, where to be, how that work out.
That reminds me, you saying that reminds me a lot of a story Coach Jones told me. One time, I can't remember if it was, I want to say he was calling plays. Coach Ray Jones from Valley.
Coach my JV team and
and
called
it
plays.
might have been that, because I remember him telling me that he didn't really know offense as much. He said he's like, I'm not as comfortable with offense, but he got the 3 or 4. I don't know how many plays it was.
It was 10.
Okay, so 10.
It wrote down
that
10 hardest plays. Yeah. I remember him telling me that, because I know I've played. It was the first year at Twin Valley, and he was coaching JV. And we actually had a JV that year that was mainly 8th graders. We only had like 3 9th graders that might have come down and played. It might have been a couple more than that, but I don't think it was. They might have come down and played, but as far as on the field starting, we had a big 8th grade team that year. And he said, we're going to run 10 plays. He said, I'm a defensive coach. Never done anything on offense. But he said, I wrote down the 10 plays that I hate defending the most as a defensive coach, and that's what we're going to run. So we run a lot of option. We run, there's just several little run plays that were in there, like traps and stuff. But it was, that was our offense. That was our offense. That's how he did it.
He's one of a kind. I'll never forget playing under him when he coached our defense my sophomore year, I think. And he would do these individual awards every week. And it would be, like, I don't know, player of the game, or I think he did some others, but he would himself go and make like certificates and stuff and give them out every week.
Yeah,
and,
he did.
It's just little things.
I think that's one. I think he's always done that, I guess, because I remember he did that with us. I'm sure he did it back in the day. But people forget about him a lot. We talk about Collie being an offensive genius for years at Hayes High, but Coach Jones is, in my opinion, the best defensive coach to ever do it around here in high school for sure. So
I actually thought of this the other day after you mentioned him. I think it would be great. I don't know. We won't mention names right now on the pod, but we'll talk about it afterwards. But I think it would be nice to bring like maybe 2 or 3 people on here and let them talk about Coach Jones and maybe the team back in, when they went to state with Garden.
It's funny you mentioned that. I got a message from somebody today talking about something similar to that. So we'll see what we can come up with. About it after this. I'll let you know.
Well, I think that concludes our high school segment, presented to you by Cantrell Holdings. Can't forget that.
Did you notice how Shane said people like talking about high school football?
Oh, yeah. I know.
Yeah. So maybe not everybody hates it.
Yeah. I'm sure the business owner of Cantrell Holdings is pretty happy about being tied to that. Give his name good recognition. So we'll move on. Get to this college stuff. We got another good week coming up. Don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about the previous week, but Ohio State did get a big win.
Luckiest bunch of. I'm still upset about that.
The defense impressed me, though. Their secondary lived up to the hype. They were good. I think that game could have went another direction. A little storyline that I didn't know till after the fact, but the last 2 plays for Notre Dame on defense only had 10 players. But at the same time, and I'm not trying to make an excuse for the coach, but this is his first head coaching gig. It sucks for the Notre Dame fan base, but you kind of have to go through a little bit of growing pains. Stuff like that happens.
It
does.
it does, and I
Yeah,
was going to say it can't happen at that level, but you see it in the
it does
NFL every now and
all the
again.
time.
You see it. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, so
Well, there should be assistant coaches helping him with that. I can't
yeah,
put that
that
all
was on the
on
head.
him.
Yeah, that's got to be a
Yeah,
miscommunication either from a coach or a player that
yeah.
didn't hear something. I don't know.
McCord played well. He made all the smart passes, uh, especially that one 3rd and 19. I think towards the end, put him right there at the goal line. I don't think, like we mentioned before, I don't think he is your type of player like Stroud or Fields, but right now he's making smart plays. He's not hurting them,
Yeah,
and they got so
nobody
much
in,
talent.
and there were no Heisman moments from anybody in that game, so neither one of those are going to be,
No,
I don't think, in the
no,
conversation at the end of the
no.
year.
Uh,
Hartman had a chance for that if he'd done something in that game and won it, and then moving on.
yeah,
But I think I don't want to say
yeah.
he eliminated them, but I think
He'd
the
have to have
guys
a
that are
great,
up, the guys
yeah.
in front of him aren't going to fall that bad. I don't think so.
No, and there's a lot of guys up there, man. It's
Yeah.
the crowded field for the Heisman. Um, so also Saturday we had a lot of ranked matchups. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I will mention Colorado fell. That was the game that we watched and we did our pod on. Uh, they just, I mean, Oregon ran all over them.
Well, like we talked
Uh,
about, not surprised they lost necessarily, but
yeah,
the complete domination was very surprising. And so
yeah.
I don't know.
Oregon looked good, and I know that's not a great defense that Colorado has, but I think Oregon is a top 10 team. I have them. I mean, I'm really high on Washington. I have them up there at the top of the Pac-12, but also I think I have Oregon right up there with them. We'll find out more about USC as we continue on. We'll talk about them coming up here in a minute. Uh, but as far as the rest of the games go, I mean, everybody kind of knows what happened to the score, so I ain't going to really go over them too much. But we're going to go ahead and do our picks, and we'll preview some of the games coming up. Right now on our pick'ems, me and Jamar both are 25-9, so far decent records. But granted, some of these games, we went with the favorites, and we haven't really here and there we jump off a little bit, but uh, we're starting now to get into the games more of the conference play. So up until this point, we had a lot of games that were tune-up games, if you want to call them that. Um, Besides this last week, and we had some ranked matchups, but we're going to start getting in a little bit of conference play more. So our first matchup, we're going to go with the 10th ranked Utah football team that will be playing at 19th ranked Oregon State. That one will actually be tomorrow night at 9 o'clock on FS1. Really good matchup, man. Honestly, the biggest detail in this, and we can listen for it tomorrow. It's going to be the biggest story all day tomorrow when it comes to this matchup is if Cam Rising is going to play. That's the biggest detail every single week. He actually did dress up or dress out, suited up, whatever, last week, but he did not play against UCLA. Um, so it could be Nate Johnson again. He had 9 of 17 last week for 117 yards and a touchdown, but UCLA's defense, I think, is sneaky good. So I'm not taking it away from him, not putting out those stats like, oh, he's terrible. Uh, but still, yeah, he's not Cam Rising. And then Oregon State ended up making a 3-point contest against Washington State after being down a good bit. I read or I listened to something today that said, I think last year and including that loss this year, they've had 3 losses. They had 2 losses last year and the loss this year. Just going off of memory, I think that's what he said. And that none of them has been more than 3 points. Right now, the line is 3, I believe. But I still have I have Utah winning. I'm not gonna lie, it's one of those that I'm telling you right now that Utah's gonna win. And come tomorrow, I don't know. Tomorrow I might feel different just because they're playing at Oregon State. And then of course with Cam Rising, I don't know. This pick is mainly for Utah's defense. I just think they've been playing the lights out. I think it's going to be a very low scoring game, but I have Utah in a very close one, maybe a 1 or 2 point game.
I was more confident when I picked Utah last week against UCLA just because they were at home. with that defense.
Yeah.
It'll be a much tougher task for the defense on the road. Just don't have the crowd noise and everything. But I think I'm going to stick with them and go with them again this week. Wouldn't be surprised if Oregon State upset them though, but I'm gonna go with them again.
Yeah, it's honestly hard to go against Oregon State just because how consistent they've been. But you can make the same argument for Utah, how consistent they've been. And I know that Oregon State hasn't quite got up the mountain like Utah has. I mean, Utah's been playing in Rose Bowls and everything else.
Defense, as well as I do. I think defense travels better than offense. So that's a big reason. But very tough game, like you said. Very, very well could be other way around. It's not. This is kind of a toss up if you really want to look at it like that, I guess.
Oh, for sure. I mean, to me, I'm surprised. I guess we'll find out more tomorrow as far as the betting odds, because you'll find out more about if Cam Rising's going to play. Which they might not
Vegas
release
is probably waiting as much last minute to.
Yeah, I mean,
really put out a.
Yeah, they usually don't. Utah don't. They usually wait till last minute anyway. But that's our first matchup. Our second matchup is 22 ranked Florida at Kentucky. It'll be Saturday at 12 o'clock on ESPN. This matchup, I think, is going to be a good, actually, defensive matchup. I have to apologize for folks down there in Florida.
all our listeners in Florida, yeah.
Yeah, because I completely trashed their defense, and I don't know if that's just because, I don't know. That first game against Utah, I just didn't see the type of athletes I thought that I would see from Florida. But their defense has been really good here recently, and I'll get into that here in a second. But from this matchup has, over time had been one-sided. It's been more on Florida's side. They'd won 31 straight games against Kentucky from 87 to 2017. But after that, it's been back and forth, given Florida's struggles past few years trying to get back to the top and the rise of Mark Stoops. I mean, he's a heck of a coach. I think we've talked about him before on here. This year, though, I mean, the Wildcats are 4-0, but the record hasn't really been that great. They haven't beat a team yet with a winning record. So, take it for what you will. I do think that Kentucky's decent. I think I said on the pod with Rusty that I think Kentucky can be sneaky against Georgia. And I still feel that way. I think if they're looking ahead to Tennessee, that Kentucky could surprise them. But with that being said, right now, their quarterback, Devin Leary, who came from NC State, heck of a quarterback. You probably remember him. They battled against Virginia Tech a few times. But he was an awesome quarterback. He's actually struggling this year. Right now, he's below 60% completion rating. And he has a career high in interceptions for a season. And we're not even halfway through the season. So that doesn't look great. And especially with, like I said, right now the Gators defense, they're ranked 5th nationally in total defense. They're allowing just 245 yards per game. And they're just one of 14 schools with Kentucky that allow less than 90 yards rushing. So the defense is going to be showcased in this game. And, between Mertz with, Florida's quarterback and Leary, they both are very streaky. Like, I'm not sure that either one of them is going to come up there and it ain't like Caleb Williams or something. It's going to come over and just take the game over. I think they're going to have to try to play within their offense a little bit and be patient. I can't sit here and talk high about Kentucky to Rusty and then bet against them. I want them to keep riding this wave a little bit until they get to the Georgia game. And I know on this pod we talk a lot of junk about Georgia. I don't hate Georgia.
Schedule. We only talk bad about Georgia's schedule.
Exactly.
We picked them in our net. We picked them to win the thing again. We picked them to be the Final Four at least.
Yeah. So But I would like to see Kentucky maybe surprise Georgia, and then maybe get Rusty on here and get his reaction. I think
I'm
that would be
100%
awesome.
pulling for. Yeah, I hope they lose somewhere.
Yeah,
And it's like, yeah, it's not nothing against Georgia necessarily. It's just to be fun.
yeah.
So you're going with Kentucky?
I'm going with Kentucky.
I want to really bad, but I also don't want to. I don't want to pick either one of them. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
I know it's not basketball, but I can't stand to say the words. I pick Kentucky to win anything,
Oh, it still bothers you.
and I can't.
Get it.
I can't. I don't know. I've never been a big fan of Florida either, but I think that defense will make more plays than Kentucky's defense Saturday. Is that when it's Saturday, right? It's not.
Yeah. Saturday,
Okay, yeah.
12 o'clock.
I think Florida's defense may make more plays than Kentucky's as far as maybe even a touchdown, maybe a pick six or something, or something like something like that, a return. But
Yeah.
yeah, like you said, it's almost like whose offense can hurt their team the least, it will win. I'm gonna go with Florida. I feel like you
Florida.
said that about Kentucky's quarterback having the interceptions, which a
Yeah.
lot of that is probably the step up in the competition. Maybe he's played this year,
But
possibly.
the ironic thing is they've not played a team with a winning record.
So they've not played their SEC
So,
schedule much yet. Then I guess so.
yeah, I'd have to look. I mean, I do think they have played. I think Vanderbilt
Yeah. Well, either way,
was
not
the
good.
one that stuck out to me.
Yeah, not good.
Not in
That
the
this
SEC.
early in the season to have that many numbers, which it might not be a lot of interceptions, but just more than normal for him, maybe. But still, if you're trending that way already, Florida's defense is not a good one to a get back game. So I'm gonna go Florida.
No. Our next matchup, which again will probably be the one that's watched the most coming Saturday, and it's going to be 8th-ranked USC Trojans. Be going over there to Boulder, Colorado, play against the primetime team. So well, for me anyway, it's one of those games that I'm trying not to pick with my heart, or try not to get swayed with the betting as far as with my heart for Dion. Listen, the only chance I think that Colorado has in this game is the fact that they could surprise USC a little bit. Maybe USC get off to a slow start, because this game is actually going to be played at 9 o'clock in the morning, because it's a 12 o'clock game, but on the West Coast it's 9 o'clock in the morning. USC has not even played in a
They're
12
not gonna
o'clock
play
game.
at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, they are.
No, they're not.
Look it up. I'm telling you,
They're gonna make them
they're
play at
playing.
9 o'clock in the morning.
They are playing at 9 o'clock in the morning. Yep.
Are you sure it's not just?
Guarantee. I mean, I promise, because I've researched it today. I heard him talk about it last week, but that was one of the things today. If you read some previews, if you go look it up, it's at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Well, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, because that is one of the things is that USC has not played. I think every game they've had has been like in the afternoon or night. I'm just picking little things, because on the field, this should not be a close game as of right now. But maybe it being early, maybe they get off to a little bit of a slow start, and maybe Colorado can score a little bit. But my honest prediction on this, I saw it today somewhere, or I think I listened to it, that USC had the highest pass rush, I think, percentage on non-pass rush plays, pretty much indicating they blitz a lot. And Shedeur Sanders is the most sacked quarterback in college football right now. I don't see that being any different come this weekend. I don't think that's a problem that they're going to fix that quick. I do think that Colorado is going to score a little more, because USC's tackling is not very good if you get guys in open space. But I think that they need Travis Hunter. I don't think Travis Hunter is going to make the difference in winning or losing in this game this weekend, but I do think they need him. He's more than just the All-American DB receiver that he is. He's also a team leader. USC has never lost to Colorado, which, Colorado has not been what they're hoping to be. But this is going to be a great game for Caleb Williams to show the world that, hey, I'm a Heisman winner. Don't forget about me too much. Because right now, man, he's tied first. He is first in passing efficiency. He's tied first with Penix in yards per attempt. He's second nationally with touchdowns. Penix is just one ahead of him with 16. So, and Williams doesn't even play in half the games. They've been winning by average, I think, of 35 points. They're the number one offense in the country when it comes to scoring. I think they average around 55, I think. I think defense, they got some questions. And when they start playing that top of the Pac-12, we'll see what happens. But I think the line's 21 right now. I think they could get it. I don't think it's going to be a blowout like it was against Oregon, but I do think that USC's offense is going to do enough to probably hit 21.
Is Colorado in a Mountain Time Zone or Pacific Time Zone?
Have to look and see.
Because you're right, it is a 9 a.m. Pacific time start, but I wonder if Colorado's in the Mountain, because if it is, it's actually a 10 a.m.
Okay,
local time start.
I will say you're. I just read it,
but you're right. Technically, it's not 12 like
it's
I
not
thought,
12,
yeah.
but you are right. It is. It's going to kick off at noon. It'll be 10 a.m. local, but it would be 9 a.m. I guess for Pacific.
Yeah, Pacific time.
Yeah,
so they're going to be.
USC,
it's an early morning wake up for them.
Yeah.
They'd almost be better off to stay up all night.
Yeah, I mean especially down there.
Now you mentioned what?
I'll let you talk about this one real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay.
While you talk about this real quick.
He mentioned Colorado giving up a lot of sacks, and Deion Sanders in his press conference this week had addressed that reporter that asked about the sacks and would they plan on adding more protection, keeping a running back in more, or adding a tight end, just pieces on the offense to add more protection. And he said, well, with that you take away options for your quarterback to get the ball out. So it's a fine line they're trying to walk there between keeping their playmakers and options open on the edges, but also at the same time protecting the quarterback, because when Sanders, the quarterback Sanders, when he has time, his completion percentage has been very high. It's not, the pressure is not affected his completion percentage. It's just he gets sacked a lot. So if they can figure out a good mix between staying in more protection and still making plays, maybe they'll have a chance to move the ball. But I don't think their defense is ready for USC yet. So I'm still very cautious to give them much of a chance, but you never really know. I don't know. It's one of those things. Welcome back.
Yeah. Sorry, I had time out there for a second.
I was talking about how in Deion's press conference this week, when a reporter asked him, would they do more like keeping another tight end or in closer or a running back to help with protection, and he's talking about you take away options for your quarterback if you do that, but I feel like they're going to have to try to figure out some way to mix up, because you're not going to just make your offensive lineman better in a week's time.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was if it's been more of a picking up like a scheme type of deal that's caused the sacks, or if it's been they're just not good enough to win their one-on-one matchups. But if it's the latter, you have to bring a guy in. You have to leave a tight end in somewhere, bring a running back in for protection, and not go 5 wide as much. That's the only way. That's the only quick fix. But I'm like you. I don't see them getting that fixed that fast without doing that. So I wonder if they can put enough points up to keep pace with USC, because their defense again. I don't think it's going to be. I mean, I don't think it'll be as bad as it was against Oregon, but I don't know if it'll be enough for them to keep it close enough.
Yeah, I don't think it will be. You talking about press conferences and stuff? Something that I kind of noticed, and maybe this is just me. I don't know, but he was talking about sorry, the quarterback that we had mentioned before coming into the next class. I think he's the top quarterback, and they asked him, "Okay, what would you tell him coming into college to get prepared for?" And he's talking about how you need to get prepared for games, watch film. And he mentioned how he tracks people's uh, his players' film time
Mm.
and stuff like that. But he made mention of that quite a bit, and I don't know if he was alluding to the fact that maybe some of his players needed to pick it up when it came to just the studying part of the game. I think it got to the point where I don't want to say they were overconfident, but you look at some of the trash talk, and I'm sure there's always trash talk, but you see some of the clips that Oregon put out of, like I said, some of the trash talk and stuff that was going on, some of the stuff they were saying. And it's like, hey, yeah, you beat TCU, yeah, you beat Nebraska, and yeah, you're way better than last year's Colorado team, but you still have a lot of studying and growth to reach that top of the mountain. And right now, the top of the Pac-12 is some of the top teams in the country. So maybe it humbled them a little bit. I don't know that it's this week. That's hard, man. Having Oregon and USC back to back. I mean, you're going against a Heisman contender this week, and I think that man, who was it? I was watching a podcast. I think it was today. It was Unnecessary Roughness, and um, they had made mention that I think it was Dave Portnoy, the president, had made a comment that Shadura was better, or I don't know if it was better, but maybe would have a better season than Caleb Williams did. And Caleb Williams liked it. And yes, I think maybe there's some added motivation there for Caleb. Uh, he's going to come out and I think have a heck of a game. But to have those two teams back to back that's hard. I think that maybe going forward in the year, you'll see more about what they are or what they're going to end up being. But they're just not. They're not there yet.
Yeah. Well, I also mentioned before there, Shador, his completion percentage is still very, very good, even with the sacks.
Yeah.
Like when he don't get sacked, he completes passes. If
Yeah.
they could just figure out a way to keep him, on the ground, off the ground, have a he's not. It's not like he's a
Yeah.
rush. It's only the sacks and the quarterback rushes or hurries. That's not affecting much. But I don't think they're ready to beat USC. But generally, somebody up. There's generally upset somewhere to shake things up. So I don't. This could be it, but I don't know. I
Yeah.
just don't see how they could get that much better in a week. So
No, me either.
I'm gonna go with USC. I think as bad as I hate to.
So they'll have us both picking USC on that one. Our next matchup will be 24th ranked Kansas Jayhawks. Be going to third ranked Texas Longhorns. This will be Saturday game, 3:30 on ABC. This game is most people on paper, I think, would just be like, "This is gonna be a blowout. Texas is gonna blow them out," and that very well could happen. Uh, but Kansas is undefeated. They didn't play a team like Bama. Granted, even though Bama's not what we're used to seeing from them, so maybe they haven't quite seen the teams that Texas has. Uh, but at the end of the day, they're 4-0. They got Jalen Daniels back. He was actually preseason Big 12 Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year. So that's just a little side note. The impact that he can have on a game. Right now, though, I think the biggest key in this game is the fact that Texas's defense is top 15 in scoring defense. They're only allowing 12 points, or 12 and a half. Their defense is playing great. I think that is the difference between this team and the teams we've had in the past that we're always like, is Texas back? Nobody knows. Then they end up losing a game they shouldn't and all that. But I think this year, that's the difference in those teams and this year's team is the defense is pretty good. And you have, Quinn Ewers coming out there playing the way he is. It's making your preseason prediction look pretty spot on. So and on both ends, the fact that you had him, I think you had him in the top 4 too. So
Who, Texas?
yeah, I think you had him up there.
Yeah.
You had
Yeah,
mentioned them.
they were my 4th rank. Yeah.
Yeah. So they look good. They look like the team that could do it again. I do think that as far as what we've seen, I think Kansas will be the best offense that Texas has saw so far, given the fact that given where Alabama was at that point in the season, not knowing quarterback wise what was going on and all that. I do think this offense from Kansas will be the best. But I honestly see it going to the ground game for Texas. I think they're going to carve them up. They did last year anyway. And I think that the defense is going to contain Daniels enough. But I do think it could be a sneaky game to where it's, we're looking at it at the end like, whoa, this is a close one, or this is closer than what we thought, and be very entertaining. But I'm going Texas.
I understand why it does feel like one of those ones where it's like, I don't want to call it a trap game, but a sneakier, like a closer game than what people would kind of think. But I kind of look at it like the opposite. I think the fact that they are Kansas is ranked, and I don't think Texas is. I don't think they're looking ahead. They're looking past anything. I think the spread 16.5. I think they cover it. I think it being at home, I think they absolutely roll and hook 'em horns.
Yeah.
I'm a
I
fan.
think if it was at
I'm a big
Kansas,
fan.
I do think that.
I have nothing to pull for this year in college football, so
You can pull for your prediction.
Colorado's not going to.
Yeah.
I'm on the Colorado bandwagon. Obviously, I like Dion a lot, and I going to follow them throughout the year. But as far as just pulling for somebody to win one, I would love to see Texas. I think win one this year. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, it would definitely. I think this year, more than any other year in recent memory, has a lot of teams that. I don't want to hate on the SEC or anything like that, but usually it's the SEC.
I mean, this is this is a down year for them, for the SEC overall.
It is, and you're seeing and I saw a thing there today talking about how viewership across the country is up a pretty good bit in college football, and a lot of that has to do with Dion. But they had mentioned too, you think about it, with the SEC being down and even Clemson being down, that part. I mean, that part of the country is still they're still going to watch college football, but now with the West Coast having all these good teams, and then Texas being back, and then even Florida State, and I know it's on the East Coast, but they're a big brand and they're coming back. It's got a lot of eyes on college football, and that's good for the sport.
Especially with all the changes about to come up, for them to still be, gaining viewers. If anything, it's very good for them moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Our next game is 13th ranked LSU at 20 Ole Miss. It's a Saturday game at 6 o'clock, ESPN. This game's weird for me because LSU is a team that one week I think, man, they're good. Maybe it was just Florida State was really good. But then the next week I'm like, man, they're not so good. And so I kind of think the 13 might be kind of high for them. I'm kind of feeling maybe around that 17 to 20, or kind of where Ole Miss is. Ole Miss is 20. I'm kind of in that neighborhood, but the defense hasn't quite played as good as what I thought it would going into the year. You're having guys like Perkins back there, who I thought was one of the best players in college football, and he's still probably in the conversation, at least in the top 10 on defense, but he ain't where I thought he was going to be. That offense has been what's got them where they're at right now with Jaden Daniels, and you got Malik Neighbors. They're becoming a deadly duo. So Ole Miss is going to have to keep them in check if they want to win this game. But just a little note on Lane Kiffin. We mentioned it, I think, last week, how he's not done so well in big-time games. He is right now 5-7 against top 25 teams at Ole Miss, which is a losing record. But across his stints at Tennessee, USC, and even Florida Atlantic, he's 8-22. He's not. I mean, I love Lane Kiffin. I it's weird. I think everybody used to hate him. Maybe it's just because this area with Tennessee and that whole ordeal. But
that's why I love him, man.
Yeah, I don't say, but I don't know. I love him now. His social media game is like top notch. But I just don't know. I don't know when he's going to get it done. Last week would have been the best time, probably his whole career, that he'll ever get at beating Nick Saban. For those of you that don't know the reference from last week,
Cam and Nick, they're thinking about having their own show. Nick and Cam and Nick.
It'd be an interesting show. But yeah, I mean, that was his best chance to win that. I just don't know how deflated they are. Junkins, so far, he's still battling with an injury. That's obviously their go-to on offense. He's one of the best running backs last year. Still, I think, is one of the best, but he hasn't got over 60 yards, I think, a game is what I heard today. And like I said, the injury plays into that a lot. I have LSU just being able to – I think it might be a shootout. Jackson Dart for Ole Miss, I mean, he's not bad, and I think Lane Kiffin can scheme up a lot. But I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, but I'm going to give it to LSU.
Anytime I talk about LSU, I want to do the Coach Orgeron voice, and I find it very depressing that he's not there anymore.
It's depressing that he ain't a coach somewhere.
That he needs to be doing something. Okay, he's just
Virginia
he's
Cavalier.
too much.
No, if you're out there, I'm sorry,
not.
Coach Elliott.
He needs to be more of a. He's a character that needs to be out doing something in public so we can enjoy him more. Yep. But I do like Coach Kiffin. I'm not on a first name on that basis with any of them, like you are. But
okay, we'll get there.
I'm gonna. I like what he's doing there and everything, but a lot of that I don't put as much of the blame on him for those records in those games, because I don't know that. I know a coach's responsibility is, or the responsibility falls on him for all that.
Yeah,
it's part of it. But there's a certain point. There's only so much you can do as a coach. Players don't execute, but I wouldn't put all that on him. But at the same time, that's part of the job, so it is on him. So I don't look for it to get any better this week. I think he puts up another number in the loss column on that record you were talking about, and I think LSU figures out some way to win. I don't know if it'll be as close as what the spread is, or if it'll be. I look for it to be at least a touchdown game, but you never know.
Yeah, and I think that I can't remember who I told this to. If I could remember, maybe they could verify it. But I remember when we hired Bronco Mendenhall, which I think that was a heck of a hire for us at the time. I think he brought a lot of success to our school. But at that time, it was before Coach O got hired at LSU, and we had a lot of names out there. I don't know that he was one of them, but that's who I wanted, and it was because his stint at USC. And it wasn't the fact that he was a great X's and O's guy, but the guys they spoke on how they just wanted to go to war for him. And, long story short, he went to LSU, won a national title. Not saying that he would have had the same success, of course, at UVA. There's a lot of different things
that's
there.
That's exactly what we're saying. He would not have had the same success.
Yeah. But I would
go ahead and make sure we're saying it. You might tell me about that, but when you start talking about Virginia, I tend to kind of block you. I don't want that negativity in my life.
Well, it carries a lot of weight sometimes. All right, so this next matchup, I think, is if I was to pick a game,
you took LSU too, right?
Yeah. You took LSU as well.
Yeah.
This next matchup is if I was to pick a game of the week, it's this one. It's 11th ranked Notre Dame at 17th ranked Duke, which is odd if you would have thought about this before the season. But the last time that Duke, being a ranked team, had hosted a top 25 opponent was 1994. And even then, let's see here. Well, skip on that. But the fact is that Duke, I mean, this really honestly, if they could pull off this win, this might be the biggest win that Duke has had. I mean, I might be wrong in football, but I don't remember any.
Maybe a Miami game one year today. They upset Miami one year when they were ranked pretty good.
They might have, but I'm not sure if they were.
Maybe they weren't that high. Yeah,
they weren't ranked this high. I think they did beat Miami. I think that was that the game with the kick return.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not happening this week either.
So what I was trying to say there a few minutes ago, messed up reading it there, but the last time they've hosted a game that was a top 20 game was in 1960.
Oh.
So as far as being a home game like that.
That's a while back.
Yeah. I mean, Duke has been rolling, man. They have won 4 consecutive games by 20 or more points. And that is including Clemson, which, Clemson's a weird. I mean, that game against Florida State, they got up for that. They were at home. And I think they was not expecting the Duke game. I think they got hit in the mouth there. So, I consider that still a good win for Duke to win that, especially by the margin they did. So they're looking good. Leonard, their quarterback, he's a great dual threat quarterback. He's not your guy that he's going to go out there and just blow you away with speed, but he's just crafty the way he runs, and he's a big guy. He's hard to bring down. I watched him a lot last year, and even then, like when he got introduced in that offense, it changed everything. Right now, he's already second all time in Duke history with rushing scores by a quarterback. But the big thing is can Notre Dame bounce back? Because if they lose this game, they're not getting the playoffs. They might not be getting there anyway, but you at least have a fighting chance of getting back there with one loss. Because I think they still have to play. I'd have to look at it. I want to say it's maybe Penn State or Michigan. I'm not sure, but I'm sure they got USC again because they always play them every year. So they got ranked matchups, but you can't lose to Duke and then expect to be back up there. And I'm not saying that as a knock on Duke at all, but with the other guys you got to worry about, you can't lose to Duke. With that being said, though, as far as prediction, both defenses are really good. Duke's defense, like I said, they've not played. They played Clemson, which that's a separate discussion, but they play like UConn and some other schools. So maybe their defense is going to look better because of the teams they've played. But I come to think that I think they got a good defense. I think that them and Notre Dame have a lot of vets on defense, and I think that's why you're seeing the results that we have. Man, I kind of almost want to go with Duke on this. Being at home, being the weight of this game, what it could do for that school. The coach is an excellent coach. Elko, I think's his name. I can't remember. You know what? I'm riding with it. I'm going with Duke Blue Devils, giving Notre Dame their second straight loss.
Notre Dame by 90.
Ooh.
Notre Dame
sounds like a Tar Heel fan.
Duke's a little overrated because of the Clemson game, and they ain't played nobody else since. And yeah, they got a pretty good defense, but blah 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 blah. It's Duke. Notre Dame's going to be really, really pissed off about how they lost last week, knowing they had 10 players on the field for 2 plays and should have won that game and would have been in the national title conversation. Not saying they're completely out of it, but very low chance now. But I think they come in. I always forget his name. Hartman, right?
Yeah, Sam Hartman.
Yeah, he spent some time shredding ACC defenses. He's going to continue that. So I look for it to be. I mean, it is at Duke, and it's a big. I think all the pressure's on Duke. I think game day's there. I'm pretty sure they are. So where game day's at? Saturday?
I'm not sure.
I think it's what I seen them announce, but
I want to say it is because I think it's the first time they've ever
yeah,
been there for a football
I
game.
want them to see announce
Might be
it,
wrong.
but nah, go Heels, go Irish, go anybody,
Anything but Duke.
even in football, Duke everything and forget it
Yeah.
all. I'm not biased about that at all, but that's just a
I can't tell any bias there.
That's a purely unbiased football take, but
Yeah.
maybe not 90, but 50.
50 is probably a little more reasonable. We don't got the Miami Dolphins out here. So our last game that we're going to go over
I forgot about that. We should.
the last game we're going to go over is a.
That's right.
So
did you see the meme about him going over the? Did you see that? I'm sure you did.
Oh no!
About him recording that. Russell Wilson recording that Broncos country. That's right, and then I guess it was one of the video games. Is it the Red Dead Redemption or whatever it's called when he just rides the horse off the cliff?
Might be.
Did you see that meme
I haven't seen it. No, I need to watch it.
I think it was
pretty accurate.
In that group, it's got Russell Wilson doing the Broncos country. Let's ride, and then it's got that video game with that guy on that horse just off a cliff. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, they're supposed to be a favorite over Chicago this week. Makes you feel great if you was a Chicago fan, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's a dumpster fire rolling into a
terrible
sewage field mess.
So our last game we're going to go over on the college slate. I think we did one or two less games this week. There's some other intriguing games like Louisville and NC State and some games like that. But as far as our pick'ems, we're going to go South Carolina at 21 ranked Tennessee. It's going to be at 7:30 on Saturday night on the SEC Network. Revenge game, I guess, if you want to call it that, for Tennessee. They flat out just whooped Tennessee last year. And I hate to bring that back up for anybody that's Tennessee fans listening to this, because I think that one really brought people back down to earth, because they might have had a shot to. I'm one of them. I thought they were going to still make the college football playoff even after they lost to Georgia. I thought their offense was that good. But, there are situations, I'm sure somebody that follows Tennessee a lot could speak on it more, but I think there were some issues going on with one of the linebackers in practice, causing some locker room stuff going on. And then, of course, the tragic injury with Hendon Hooker. So the game was 63-38 last year. South Carolina winning. Rattler had a heck of a game, threw 453 yards. So we're going to see that again. It's going to be Rattler, but it's going to be against Joe Milton, which Milton played last year, but now he's got the whole team. It's on him. And so far, he has not been good, not been what I thought he would be. He's been 11th among SEC passers this year in yards per game and completion percentage. That's not good. Not where you want to be when you look at what Hendon Hooker did last year.
Well, there's a big difference in being a good quarterback and throwing at 110 yards when you.
Yes, said perfectly.
Kind of proving what's going on there right now.
Yeah, sometimes you get, and I was one of them. Sometimes you fall in love with the.
Arm strength is great, obviously, but if you can't complete those other ones, I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, but I think people got wowed by the arm strength and just thought, oh well, and it's not working out so far like we thought it would.
Well, I think that what got me too was, and especially with what we found out this year with Clemson, that they're not the Clemson of old. Like, it's not what Dabo's finest has been. I think I put more stock on the way he played against that Clemson team in the bowl game. And I thought, okay,
it could be a lot of it.
Yeah, I thought, okay, it's going to be another year of what Hendon Hooker did. And Milton's going to come in here and do this. But right now, I think Tennessee fans are – I don't know if their backup quarterback, Nico, he was I think the second-ranked quarterback coming out of that class behind Arch Manning. A lot of people thought he was the best quarterback. I don't know if he redshirted or not. I had to look that up. But if he didn't redshirt, I'm sure you have a lot of Tennessee fans that are like, hey, let's give him a shot. Or if he did, then a lot of them were kind of looking forward to next year.
Mm-hmm.
But I have. This is just a game, man, that I don't feel good about either team. I really don't. But with that being said, being at home, Knoxville, good environment, one of the top SEC environments, I think. Um, I think that's going to give them the edge. And given the fact with the game happen, like what happened last year, that whole ordeal, uh, I think it's a little bit of a redemption game in the sense that they're going to get that one back. I have Tennessee winning, but I do not have it being a good defensive game. I think that it's going to be high scoring.
Yeah, I think if Tennessee can win by 100, they will. Just because
Yeah,
of last year, but I don't think it'll be that, that big a blowout. I do think I don't know. I'd be afraid to even try to guess a spread what I think it'll be on this one, but I
I'm
do
going to
think
over and under.
Tennessee. Yeah, I do think it'll be over on the points, and I think Tennessee
Yeah,
will find a way to
I'm
win
not
it
sure
too.
what it is, but
I wouldn't be upset if South Carolina come in and got them again, but I think if I had to pick one, put money on one, I'm gonna take Tennessee again. I guess.
yeah.
I hate
Well,
to
that
even say it. I just said the words. I take Tennessee, and I would rather want to take Kentucky in the same podcast. And I didn't pick Kentucky, did I?
no, you did not.
But I said the words on. I kind of had to put the words together. I don't even like talking about them.
Yeah.
Any of them.
No, we had a great podcast or a great lineup for you with Kentucky and Duke and
I know
Tennessee.
what's going on. I mean,
What's even greater about that is that you're picking the Tennessee Vols over a Beamer.
have
So,
to.
yeah.
I'm concerned about
Yeah.
this record that we're keeping here.
Well, we're 25-9. Both of us are right now.
Part
So
of me
yeah.
wanted Beamer to. I was hoping maybe he'd try to come back to Virginia Tech. I don't know that he's. I don't know
Yeah.
who's the guy to solve that. I don't know if there's ever been anything that could fix that mess down there right now. But
Yeah. Well, then, man, I
right
mean,
now it's not a coaching problem. I don't think it's a getting the players problem. So until they do that, it don't matter who's coaching.
well, there's a reason why we haven't really talked much about our teams in college this year. So it's been a rough year, but you
Yeah,
have
you would
those
think that
sometimes. So,
both of us didn't really have a favorite. We don't ever talk about any
yeah.
one of them really.
We have them, but we don't. We also, we're trying to think of our listeners and try to give y'all content that you might want to hear. And I'm not sure anybody wants to hear anything about our favorite teams right now, the way they're playing.
I don't think Virginia
So,
Tech's been blown out yet. There's that.
well,
They've been in. I
yeah,
think they've been in all their games to an extent. So that's
yeah.
something a
And we're
silver
splitting
lining
hairs
somewhere. I think.
between two teams that are two of the worst teams in Virginia at the moment.
Well, I
We
told you
were
at the
ranked.
beginning of the season we
Yeah,
should instead of Virginia Tech and Virginia should just play a best of 11 series throughout the year and
yeah,
not even worry about anybody else.
yeah. Well, we were ranked the other day. I can't remember who did the rankings, but in the bottom 25 of college football teams in the country. So, and a
Oh,
lot of
really?
that plays, a lot of that plays into the fact
Were
that
we up there with you?
I don't know where y'all were. I just remember seeing us up there. Like I said, a lot of that plays into the fact that we had a lot of guys transfer because the coaching changed. Then quarterback that we did have, he's out. We have a true freshman at quarterback, Calandria, which he's good for what I expected. And then you had tons of injuries that I talked about week 1 when we played Tennessee on here. So it's just the perfect storm, and the team is still trying to heal, I think, from the tragedy last year. I mean, a lot of these guys were teammates with the 3 individuals that fallen, especially the running back. They were real close. I mean, he was one of them that got shot as well. So there's a lot of other stuff too they're battling. But as far as just strictly on the field stuff, it's not look good. So that's our college football segment. Before we get off here, because right now UFC wise, we like to cover UFC, but there's just not any news. There's not even a fight this Saturday. nothing. There's been some matchups to come out, but it's not really been anything worth coming on here and talking about because we'll talk about those matchups here this next month whenever the next big UFC card is. So besides that, NFL stuff, I think that the content's out there already. We, at times we touch on some NFL. We touch on it more, I think, when we have a guest come on, one of our buddies. So we don't really go through a full rundown of games, and also we don't want the podcast to be 3 hours long.
Me and you playing this week in one of those leagues, fantasy, by the way.
Yeah, I think we are.
But
it's actually our friend the week we have with the belt.
I went 3-0 last week in my 3 leagues I'm in. Won all 3.
Yeah.
Undefeated in one of my leagues, but I'm thinking that's going to end pretty soon. So I'm having not a great year, but not terrible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. Like, I have winning records in most of mine, but I feel good about, at least on my ESPN leagues. I'm in a huge Yahoo league that I'm 2-1 right now, but I'm not with a big league like that. It's week to week. You just don't know what's going to happen. I think it's 14 teams in it. But as far as the ESPN leagues, I'm kind of the same way you are. I'm feeling good. It's a weird feeling because usually I go into the year 0-4 or 0-3, and I'm sitting here trying to pick off the waiver wire and find some hope to turn the season around.
Well, Melissa did comment the other day on your activity on the waiver wire. She's very active, she said.
Well, I'm always active. I'm just saying I'm not relying
on it. She said
it's this year.
She'll be watching the game and she'll be kind of look through in stats, and she'll be like, "Oh, I know who's going to have him whenever I know who's going to have him." And like every time so far, it's like looked it up and be like, "Yep, sure enough, that picked up by Cameron."
Yeah, I'm always on it. You gotta be quick.
Or you don't have to get them because you're not going to start them anyway because they do have.
Yeah, I don't do that. I get them, and sometimes I start them. It depends.
Well, that means your original players weren't very good then. You're not going to start most of them guys over a flash in the pan, and then you're not going to, I mean, every now and again, but very rarely.
Depends. Listen, I can't go at you with this, but me and Melissa last year, some of those guys I picked up, and that kind of helped me towards the end because her team was tearing it up. So I'm always going to be on it because
last year that was bless your heart. That was a complete fluke. What happened, and you know it.
Yeah, I know.
She still holds a serious grudge against Devontae Adams for that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's almost as bad as the situation that happened in our league. I can't remember what the player was, but the unfortunate stuff that happened with Damar Hamlin. Game, I think,
that was a mess.
Actually held Ryan back from winning. I don't know. We'll get into that some other time, but you never know with fantasy football. I think Logan lost a season one time because Jamar Chase had almost like 60 points in a game. It was ridiculous. So yeah, but again, we're not going to get too deep into the NFL stuff because we usually do that with our buddies when they come on, and we don't want this pod to be super, super long. But we do want to talk about our plans for tomorrow night because we have mentioned several times that we want to cover some country music and throw that out there some. And, we plan on having some musicians on and stuff like that. We're going to go to a concert tomorrow night down at the Appalachian Wireless Arena in Pikeville, Kentucky. If y'all haven't been down there, it's a great venue. In my opinion, it's a great venue for the prices. You go down there, and almost anywhere you sit in that place, you could see. I know that y'all had this discussion the other day. I can't remember if you had it on air. It was on air. It was on the last pod that we had Saturday. Yeah, that the whole ordeal with sitting or standing at the arena or sitting up in the stands. But this is a place that I don't think I would ever go down on the floor because for the price difference and the way you can see up top, I'm just going to go. I'm going to go up top. Which I
Well,
usually like being on the side, but yeah, I'm.
it's one of them deals where I get that it's cool to be close and see these people. But honestly, I mean, I just feel like unless you're actually in the pit and you're like so close where you might catch something that a
Yeah.
band member throws, or if you have something you just reach out and get a fist bump or dap somebody up. I don't. I know what these people look like, and I guess like I said, it's cool, but it's not worth the much more money to pay for me to just be a little bit closer, just to see them
No.
a little better.
Yeah. The
You know
price
what I mean? When
difference.
you can watch
Yeah.
the whole show from, like, especially down there.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know that it's worth paying that much more to be like right there that close, but I could justify paying that much more money to be to the right up at the stage. But just to be a much better view, I don't think I can never really justify paying a whole lot more.
The only time I say this now going forward, Chelsea might override me, but going forward, the only time that I will be down there again is if it comes with like a package where I'm like it's like a meet and greet type situation where I can benefit from it in that way. But I went and I stood for the NF concert, which I loved it. It was amazing, but you were in that spot from the like you ran in. First off, you had to run in, get your spot, and then you couldn't leave. I mean, you were there. And granted, I don't leave that much anyway. But if you want to go use the bathroom, if you want to go get a water, uh, or even grab a shirt or whatever, you was not getting back up there. You're going
Yeah,
to be in the main back, and it's not worth it. Like it's not worth standing that long for that.
I mean, it
Like I
is
said, I
some
won't do it
people,
again.
and
But
I'm completely for it. If that's what you want to,
yeah,
if
for
that's
me,
how you want, if that's the only way
yeah,
you can take in a concert is to be close enough where you can, make sure you see everything. If that's the only way you can do a concert, if you care more about that than what it sounds like, then that's your opinion. I'm fine. I'm fine with that. But
yeah,
for me personally, it ain't worth it. It ain't worth it.
no. As far as concert goes, we'll be seeing Midland and Jon Pardi. You've seen Pardi before. Have you seen
Both of
Midland?
them, yeah.
Have you seen both of them? What do you
Mm-hmm.
think about them before?
Love them. Great. Midland's great.
Yeah.
Live, put on a great show. Um, Wild looking cats. Midland is
Oh yeah.
but they very
Yeah.
good. And I actually have a T-shirt of theirs. I might wear it tomorrow night instead of a party, but which I don't have a party shirt, I don't think. But so I may wear my Midland shirt. But yeah, Party's very very good too. He's you'll have a great time, I think.
Yeah, I look forward to it. I think that when the concert was announced, I was more excited for Midland, and that's not a knock against Party. I like Party too, but I love Midland. Uh,
Yeah,
the their style, it's kind of I don't know. There's a band I'm thinking of. I can't. It's more of like that '90s style country, but it's got like a weird, like a different like type of twang to it. Ask me another day, I'll tell you the band I'm thinking of because I can't remember it now off the top of my head. But yeah, they just got that different feel to them. But it's like a older country, kind of like a Texas type country feel. Um, I don't know. I mean, I love them though. About everything they've put out has been really good. I don't think they get talked about enough. And then, like I said, Party, he does get talked about enough, and rightfully so. He's got a lot of great game or great. Guys, I'm still in football.
he's got
A
some
lot of
good
great
game too.
songs.
Have you seen his wife?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you know, what's this first song that introduced me to him? And I had heard other songs, but the first one that really caught me um, was how was it That Man? I think is that by him. I'm pretty sure.
I can't remember
Um,
for sure.
I'm about positive. It's like during his early albums, and I'm not going to find out right now because I'm not going to sit here and make this accusation on. Yeah,
Well, the
That Man.
Lions are 4-0. Ain't that something?
Yeah. Oh yeah, they look good in that. But yeah, that song it's one of my favorite songs by him, and that's what got me into listening to him. And then the rest of it's been great ever since. So yeah, I look forward to it. Looking forward to hanging out with you guys.
They're not 4-0. I don't know why I said that. They're 3-1. Sorry.
No, they lost one game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I look forward to hanging out with you guys, and like I said, going to another concert over there in Pikeville. It's been a minute.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can maybe get out of work a little early, so we're not in a rush. But again, the great thing about Pikeville is that close, so it's not like you don't have to spend like a whole day of missing work or a half a day. You can kind of just maybe go a little early, or if we really wanted to just really rush it, you wouldn't even have to leave leave as soon as you get off work and go straight there. You'd be fine. But I'd like to, be able to get out a little early, just to shower and go eat. But
yeah, no, that's
we'll
what
see
I'm
how
doing.
it goes.
I'm leaving early. I don't know what time I'll get over that way, but I'll be getting out a little bit earlier. Just completely side note, because you mentioned the Detroit game. Like, what happened to Jamar Gibbs being something? Because tonight I had 5 legs on a parlay, and Detroit won. And then I had some others with Goff and Reed and Laporta. All of them hit. And all I needed was Gibbs to score 1 touchdown. They get Montgomery had 3 touchdowns tonight.
I seen
like,
that.
what
Ain't
we
that
doing
crazy?
here, guys? What we doing in Detroit? Come on.
3 of them. Who has him
3
in fantasy?
I don't know, but we check that waiver wire. Might have to check it out.
I'd say somebody's got him already.
I'm sure they do. He's good in spurts. You just never know with him.
You'll pick
He's
him up,
like
and
that
then
in Chicago.
you'll pick him up, and then they'll say, "Hey, we gotta be more balanced," and they'll.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, I think he played for Chicago last year, and he was good there. He's got hurt a lot. I mean, I think I don't know. We'll see. So guys, that's kind of including everything for this podcast. Do you have anything else more before I end it here?
No, I mean I can't really think of anything right off. I'm sure I'll think of it as soon as we get off here. Something I should have said or should have touched on, but
yeah.
I mean, just I don't know, kind of going back to the social media stuff.
Yeah.
Porch Talk, the Facebook page for Porch Talk is there is one out there. For some reason, it doesn't get as much traffic as our Instagram and our everything else. So, if anybody wants to follow that, and you can send us messages to there if you want to do that. But we're open for suggestions on anybody thinks anybody will be a good guest, or things like that, or if we something we missed about high school or like a team or somebody that's having a good year or something we want us to look into, stuff we're leaving out, something, shoot us a message, let us know, interact, whatever. We'll check it all out and do whatever we can to get better at it and make people who are listening enjoy it. So I mean, we're going to talk about stuff that we have fun talking about, but at the same time, we're wide open for suggestions. So shoot us a message.
Yeah, and just to kind of piggyback off of what you're saying, as far as social media goes, guys, I can speak for both of us. We both appreciate all the support we've got. It's grown a lot more than I thought it might have. I mean, because we just kind of went into this just wanting to have fun and talk. It's grown a lot, and we've had a lot of positive support from the high schools around here, the coaches, even just our friends and some musicians and stuff we know. So, I mean, there's been a lot of support. And, just to kind of go for what you're saying, I would like to get to the point here soon. And I think we're not far away from getting maybe some questions out there and get some interactions with people to where we can put the questions you guys might ask us, or even comments, whatever. We can actually talk about it on the podcast. I know a lot of podcasts have like awesome segments to where they have like a little mailbag segment, whatever, to where they have questions from their fans, and then we go over them. So maybe that's something we can start doing here in the future, get a little bit more interaction, and it could be anything. I think within the realm of high school, college, NFL, as far as football goes, since it's in season, and then with UFC, country music, I can't sit here and tell you much about some of the other stuff. I mean, you asked me about Nicki Minaj, I'm probably not going to be able to give you a great explanation, but maybe we'll try something like that in the future because I think that'd be very fun. A good way to end out the episode.
Speaking of Nicki Minaj, did you see that clip of gosh, who was it?
Sure didn't. If it was,
I want to say it was Shannon Sharp, maybe. They were interviewing with it was an older one. It had Dion on the panel and somebody else. They were talking about maybe having a play called Nicki Minaj. I think it was Nicki Minaj. I think it's who it was.
I not heard it.
But they were saying, how we had a play called Nicki Minaj, and I'm pretty sure it was Shannon Sharp was like, "Oh, I get it. It's a fake. It must be a fake." And it was very good. It was funnier watching them do it than it was listening to me explain it. But
Shannon Sharp and Dion's, they're awesome on the mic.
Yeah. And that clip with him and Dion, when Dion's showing him his toes, whatever that is, he says about
it.
It's hilarious. You got to watch more of these.
Yeah, I need to. I don't know. I get my own little world sometimes, but yeah, like I said, those are just some future plans we got coming up. Everybody, thank you for the
next
support
week.
on the clips.
Sorry.
Well, why don't you go ahead?
Are we doing? Well, I guess we'll talk about it next week.
Yeah, we'll talk about it afterwards.
Country Thunder's next weekend.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. But as far as the clips and stuff, continue to share those if you like them. If you don't like them, don't share them. I'm not gonna be one of those guys that beg for you to share everything. But if you do enjoy them, share them around. Help get the word out. We're gonna try to grow this thing as much as possible. Again, thank you to Coach Wicks for coming on this week. Again, thank you for Coach Tommy Krieger. A few weeks ago, I think you started a good trend of having some coaches be more eager to get on. I know prior to this, we had a few that had already said that they were want to be on, but to actually see you get on and take that first step, it helps a lot. Then, like I said, thanks again for Coach Wicks. For those of you that's listening that hasn't watched either one of those episodes, definitely go check them out. I think that's definitely where we're getting most of our traction, and rightfully so. Those are two great individuals, great stories for them, that they told. So yeah, thank you again for anybody that has already watched it, and just like I said, keep sharing it with your friends and give us feedback, good or bad. We want it all. Do you have anything else, Mar?
I think I'm good, and the whole feedback thing. If it's something negative, we're not going to promise we won't just ignore it. Like if it's something really, I mean, I don't mind hearing it, but we're not going to completely change up stuff necessarily to appease everybody, but we are open to, like I said, any kind of negativity.
Yeah, when I say negative, I don't mind. I don't mind criticism because I like knowing how to adjust. But at the end of the day, we're still going to try to stay true to what we want to do. And because if it becomes a thing where it's not fun for us, then we ain't going to do it.
Yeah.
But right now I'm having a blast. I about do one of these every night, but I don't think I could listen to myself talk and hear that much. But again, guys, thank you for listening, and until next time, thank y'all and God bless.
Later.